And we use what? We use epsilon to
Excuse me,
denote.
ma'am.
Yes.
Now start recording.
Yeah, sure. Okay, epsilon is used to represent a, it's used to represent a empty string. Okay, this empty string, it is represented by an epsilon. You have to make a note of it. Make a note of it. Okay. Now, set of all strings over an alphabet. We have a notation which is called as sigma star. It denotes something. The sigma star is, it denotes something. Now here, don't get confused by sigma and sigma star. What sigma? Sigma is basically an alphabet and it's a non-empty finite set. Whereas sigma star is, we are going to see that sigma star is basically set of all strings. Set of all set of all strings over an alphabet sigma. This is the difference, okay, between just the sigma symbol and the sigma star symbol. Sigma stands for an alphabet and it's a non-empty finite set. Finite set, okay? And sigma star, it's a set of all strings over alphabet. Let's take an example over here. Let's take an example over here. Suppose, for example, okay, for example, sigma is equal to 0, comma 1. For example, sigma is equal to 0, comma 1. Okay, guys, this question is given to you. Now you are supposed to compute the value of sigma star. What will be the value of sigma star? As the definition, see, the definition of sigma star is set of all strings over an alphabet sigma. We have an alphabet sigma as 0, comma 1 in the question. Now we are interested in computing the set of all strings which is present in this alphabet sigma. So what will be my answer here? Set of all strings I'm saying. So it also includes an empty string or a null string. And what do we use to represent an empty string? This, for an empty string.
Epsilon.
Yes, it's what? It's basically empty string. For an empty string, we use epsilon. So we will start writing the values of sigma star. So we will have epsilon, comma. Now check the alphabet. Check the set over here. You have 0, comma 1. Okay. Is this clear? Why am I writing epsilon? Because I want to include all the sets of set of all strings, whether it's a empty string or it's a non-empty string. I'm interested in including all the strings over here. So that's why epsilon, comma, I have two values, right? 0. So I'll write 0 as it is. Yep. Then I'll write another value. I have 1 over here. So I have 0, comma 1. Now what to do? So you can write the occurrences of 0 and 1 also over here. So I can also include 0, 0. I can include 0, 1. I can include 1, 0, 1, 1. Okay. Similarly, 3 times, triple zero, etc., etc. It goes on and it becomes an infinite. It becomes an infinite set over here. Getting? Yeah, is this clear? The question was, I'm given an alphabet, sigma is equal to 0, comma 1. And we have to find the set of all strings over sigma. And that is represented by the sigma star. So sigma star is equal to, we are including epsilon. It stands for empty string. Similarly, I'll write the two values given in that alphabet sigma, given in sigma are 2, comma 1. Same thing. Then I'm going to write the occurrences of 0 and 1, in what way this particular values are appearing. Okay, so I will write 0, 0. It can be repeated twice, right? 0 can be, it can occur 2 times or 3 times or 4 times, etc., etc. Similarly, 1 can appear once, twice, thrice. Okay, and it goes on infinitely. Over, so this is what I'm getting as the answer here. I'm having epsilon 0, 1. 0, 0, I can have 0, 1, I can have 1, 0, all the combinations of ones and zeros, and the occurrences of zeros and ones also. So this is called as this is your sigma star, which means set of all strings over sigma. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I have given the this thing, na, PDF. Try to read that. Okay, try to clear the theoretical concepts from that. Okay. Now we have something which is called as string manipulators. We will see that. Manipulators are nothing but those are the operations which are performed on a particular string or alphabet. Now, similarly, as you had solved few examples in your mathematics, like you have union, intersection, etc., etc., set difference, cross products. What are this? Basically, these are the operations which are used. Okay. So similarly, over here also in our formal language, we are having certain operations, and in that first one, we have something called as concatenation. 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 Okay, and it is denoted by, suppose there are two strings. Okay, I have string X and I have another string as Y. Okay, these are my two strings X and Y. Now, my concatenation, I can denote concatenation as X dot Y. Okay, this is my concatenation. Now, example, let us consider one example here. Suppose your X is equal to A1, A2, AN, and Y is equal to B1, B2, BM. These are the two strings. I'm having the two strings XY, and the values of X are A1, A2, AN, and Y I'm having as B1, B2, BM. So in after this, I'm going to perform concatenation. So what will be my result here? X dot Y, that is equal to,
A1, B1.
very good. Or yes, you're right. You're expanding that. That's good. It is basically A1, A2, AN dot B1, B2, BM. Okay. And when you proceed further, you get the final results. Okay. You can expand that. So this is what the basic operations of concatenation does. Okay. Now, in that, we are going to have certain rules and certain theorems in that. Okay. This is just an introduction to languages, so it will be sort of this concatenations and all such operations. It will be like that. Yep. In the coming lectures, when we will start with finite automata, that will be much more interesting for you to solve. Okay. Now, after that, I have a rule which is called as, there are certain thumb rules, right? In every theory, there are certain thumb rules which you have to follow. For example, over here, the first rule is for a string X, they are saying that for a string X and an integer n greater than or equal to 0. Yep. For a string X and an integer n greater than equal to 0, we write, what do we write? We write x raised to n plus 1 is equal to x raised to n into x. Yep. And there is a base condition also. With base condition, as x raised to 0 is equal to epsilon. The second rule says that x raised to n is obtained by concatenating. Yep. It is obtained by concatenating n copies of x. My third rule says that whenever n is equal to 0, it says that whenever n is equal to 0, the string, okay, whenever n is equal to 0, the string x1 to xn represents what? Represents. It represents the empty string. It represents the empty string. E- Epsilon, right? So the third rule says that if n is equal to 0, the string x1 till xn represents the empty string epsilon. Okay, why? Because the value n is equal to 0 and n stands for what? It is an integer for a string x. Okay, this is my third rule. Now we will see something interesting which is called as computing the length of a particular string. How do we compute? Are you writing?
Not right. Yeah, ma'am. Like, ma'am,
Oh,
just
yeah.
explain the first rule again. Like,
First
ma'am,
rule, yes. Okay, let me just write it and explain you the first rule again.
ma'am, is it like the rule we have in maths that we add the powers if the that exponential rule that we add the powers if the base is same, base are equal?
Wait. Yeah, the first rule says that for a string x and an integer n greater than or equal to 0. Okay, this is a condition that the number or the integer n should be greater than or equal to 0. We write as x raised to n plus 1. If we have a value x raised to n plus 1, we write it as what? X raised to n into x with base condition x raised to 0 is equal to epsilon. Okay, base condition is what? X raised to 0 is equal to epsilon. So, yes, you were right. As you said that you had done this in mathematics and all. Yeah, that's resembles the same thing. Yeah.
And what if the given expression is x raised to n plus 2?
If it is x raised to n plus 2. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in that case, what you can do is see here. If it is x raised to n plus 2, we can write it as x raised to n into what we are interested in the base condition, right? So that's why we have to
Yes, ma'am.
consider it as x raised to 0 is equal to epsilon. So in that case, if it is x raised to n plus 2, we can write it in this way. But for solving our numericals, we are not interested in x raised to n plus 2. We just want to consider the values with respect to this x raised to n plus 1. Yep, that's why.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, now next one is what we were saying is the fourth one. That is the rule for computing the length of a particular string. Okay, this theory part is given in the PDF. You can just go through it. Okay, so our fourth rule says that, wait a minute. Okay, our fourth rule is that let x, okay, let x be a string. Yes, let x be a string over an alphabet sigma for a belongs to sigma, the number of occurrences, the number of occurrences, yep, the number of occurrences of a in x shall be denoted by mod of x to the base a. Is it visible, guys? Yeah, can you see it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, it's a little messy. I can understand that. Please cooperate with me. Okay, so let X be a string over an alphabet sigma for A belongs to sigma. The number of occurrences of A in X shall be denoted by mod of X to the base A. This is what? This is the way you compute the occurrence of A. And similarly, we have another rule which says that the length of a string X, okay, length length of string length of string X, it is denoted by mod of X. Yes, length of a string X is denoted by mod of X, and it is defined as mod of X is equal to summation, mod of X is equal to summation A sigma A belongs to sigma mod of X to the base A. Or it can be just mod of X. Okay, I'm not interested in occurrences over here. Yeah. So what can you understand by these two statements? These two statements states that the first one in the first statement, we are showing the occurrences of A, the number of occurrences of A. If I write it as B, then it will show me, it will give me the result as number of occurrences of B. Okay. And similarly, the fifth statement states the length of string X, and it is given by mod of X, and it is defined by this. Now let us consider one example for this. Yeah, should I erase this? Okay, let me take one example over here. Okay, consider an example here. I'm giving you one example. For example, X is equal to BBA. What is mod of X and what is mod of X to the base A? What's the answer over here? Yes, I am having a string. I'm giving you a string of X is equal to BBA, right? X is equal to BBA. And then I want to compute the length of X. So length of X is what? The total number of alphabets present or the number of strings present in this. We have what? What is the sequence here? Yes,
EBA.
BBA. So that how many alphabets are present over here in the string X? See, this X is a string, right? We know that X is a string, and these are the alphabets, sequence of alphabets, okay? So here I'm having three alphabets which are present in X. So the length of X will be, and what is the definition of length of X? It's basically all the occurrences of all the alphabets present in that particular string. So I have three as my answer. And what do you mean by this mod of X A? It says that let X be a string over an alphabet sigma for A belongs to sigma. The number of occurrences of A in X shall be denoted by mod of X A. So here, how many times A is occurring in the particular string? A is appearing only once. Is it? Isn't it? Yeah, A is occurring only once in that particular string. So I am writing the value of number of times the A is occurrence. The occurrences of A is 1. Similarly, if I want to compute the occurrences of B, what will be my answer? My answer will be 2, right? So this is just one example. Consider another example. Okay, now I'm giving you this example. X is equal to ABABA. Okay, tell me the occurrences of A, the occurrences of B, as well as the length of X. Yes, guys. So what are the answers over here?
Ma'am, 3 to 5.
Wait a minute. Yes, occurrences of A is what? Why it is appearing 3 times? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yes, 3. B is very good. It's 2. And here finally, X stands for the entire length of the string. So that is 5. Yes. So this is how compute the length and occurrences of a particular string. Now we will see. Okay. Now if we denote AN to be the set of all strings, okay? If we denote, next rule now it is fifth one. It says that if we denote AN to be the set of all strings, okay? As to be the set of all strings, to be the set of all strings of length n, yes, of length n over sigma, then one can easily ascertain that sigma star is equal to union of n greater than equal to 0 an. This is my fifth rule. But that's not that, it does not carry that much weightage. So we will move ahead with some other examples. Okay, these derivations are given, but these derivations are not necessary for our formal languages. This is just a introduction I'm giving to you, what all theorems are included, and those are also given in the ebook. You can refer that just for reference, okay? Don't study that in much more detail because we don't want to give much of a time in that. Okay, now the sixth rule says that, okay, now hence being an is a finite set and sigma star is a countably infinite set. Sigma star can be an countably infinite set. Similarly, the next rule is seventh rule. This is important. This is very, very important. Okay. The seventh rule says that X is a, here X is a substring. Yes, X is a substring of Y. X is a substring of Y. If X occurs in Y, that is Y is equal to UXV. Okay, Y is equal to UXV for some string U and V. For some string U and V. Yes, now go through this definition, the rule. It says that X is a substring of Y if X occurs in Y for some string U and V. Check this. So it is always given in this form, Y is equal to UXV. And the meaning of that is this X. See, this X occurs in Y. Okay. Why? It says that X is a substring. X is a substring of Y if X occurs in Y for some strings like U and V. Okay, for U and V. Okay, now consider an example. X is equal to A, B, B, A. Yes, guys, this example is given to you. Okay, now what is the substring of X here? We can say that BB is this one. BB is a substring of X. BB is a substring of X. Why? Why is that so? Because it is in that way because we write what? Because because we write x is equal to, we write what? Because we can write it in this way, right? Sorry. Yeah, we can write it in this way. Just give me a few minutes. Yeah, we are here. Okay, what we can do here is we can write it as x is equal to u y v. Okay, it's the it's the same thing. We can either write it as y is equal, if we have y, okay, if we have y string, then we can write it as y is equal to u x v. And if we have another string in, like in this form, x is equal to a, sorry, we have something which is x, okay, so here we can write it as, uyv, right? So it is assumed to be x is in this form. It is assumed to be in this form. So we can write it in this form. X is equal to a b b a, right? This is given to you, a b b a. So here we can write it in this way. X is equal to u y v. Okay. And here y is considered to be a substring. Y is a substring of x. Okay. You should relate that. The definition states that here y is equal to uxv. Over here, x is a substring of y if x occurs in y for some other strings u and v. Now, similarly, if we have some expression in this way, x is equal to a b b a. Here, bb is a substring of x because it is in this form. X is equal to u y v. Here, bb is a substring. Okay, and what's the value of u and v now? Yes, x is equal to u y v, right? And I'm having here x is equal to a b b a, right? So what's the value of u and v here? U is equal to a, y is equal to b b. Yes, what's saying v is equal to a, right? X is equal to a, y is equal to b b, and v is equal to a, isn't it? Yeah, now you can just go through it and ask me any questions if you have. Yes, guys, is it clear?
Ma'am, how will be the questions framed on these rules?
Yes, that's what. Exercises we are going to see in the next lecture. What we will do in next lecture, I will give you I will give you questions, and then I will solve one question, and then you will have to solve another question, right? This is just explanation of that. And the questions here will be in such a way that if x is equal to, now a question like this. Okay? The question will be in this way. Okay. Question will be like, if x is equal to a b b a, find the substring of the string x. Okay, the question will be like this. Yep. And there will be more other things, like you have other theorems and all, so it will be framed in that way. In the next lecture we will see the numericals, like how the question appears actually. Yes, today just try to understand this concept.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now just give me few minutes. I'll just share some PPT with you.
Ma'am, you are muted.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't observe that. Okay. See, so let us take one example here. Our first question is x is equal to BABB. I'm giving you this question, x is equal to BABB. This is the way the questions will be framed in the exam. Okay. We have started with the basic part of our grammars and languages. So we have to just focus on our simple things in today's lecture. And coming, I think we will require at least 2 lectures to move further on advanced topics. Okay. So this is the way the question is framed in the examination. Okay. First question, x is equal to BABB. What is the substring of x? Tell me now, what will be the substring of x?
AB.
Very good. First of all, you will have to write it in that way. What was our thumb rule? X is equal to, you have a substring when that substring is what? It is a substring of x when it occurs in x in such a way with two other strings as well. So always remember you have two other strings, u and v always. Okay. Now check here. The value of x is given here and we are supposed to find the substring of x. So so here it will be in this form, u, y, v. Okay, u, y, v. U and v are the strings, whereas my y is a substring. Now our expression is b, a, b, b, and it is of this form. My u will be b, my value of v will be b, and my substring is ab. So over here the answer is ab. Getting? The answer is ab. This is our solution. Now if I give you another question, okay, now another question. Let's take another question. Suppose, okay, suppose I just write it in this way, okay? Y is equal to, the concept you have to understand, okay? Y is equal to BABB, okay? And what is the substring of Y? As I told you, the expression can be written vice versa. Either it can be y is equal to u x v, where x is a substring of y with other two strings u and v, or it can be written in this way, x is equal to u y v. Here y is a substring of x. Yep, getting the two scenarios over here. So don't get confused that it should be y is equal to u x v, or it should be x is equal to u y v. It can be written vice versa. So in the question, it can appear y is equal to BABB, or it may also appear as x is equal to BABB. So by understanding these expressions, just keep this in mind. You have to make a picture of this. Okay. You always have to make sure that you are having two other, what you're having, you are having two other strings u and v, and in between that two strings u and v you have our substring. Getting? So here my question is y is equal to BABB. Now what is the substring of y? So it's very simple, right? Substring of y is AB. Why? Because everything is expressed in this form. So just remember this, guys. Okay, getting? So till now what we had seen is, we had seen few of the rules. We had seen how to represent, how do we denote an alphabet? Yep, how do we denote an alphabet? Then what is a string? How do we denote an alphabet? Then what is a string and how it is denoted? Then you have certain operations like concatenation, right? You have concatenation, and we had seen that that is what x dot y. Similarly, you have something which is called as these are just the important topics which I'm highlighting, guys. Okay. Next one, you have occurrences of, you just remember this for the next lecture. Okay. Occurrences of string. Okay. Occurrences of string. So if it is mod x a, it is what? Occurrences of a. if my expression is mod x of b, so it denotes the occurrences of b. Then I have fifth one, that is what? That is length, right? Length of a string, and it is denoted by mod of x. Yes, suppose x is a string, yeah, x is equal to string, x is a string, and my length of string is given by mod of x. Now sixth one we had seen, and that is very, very important, is our substring. To compute a substring, yes, to compute a substring, and it is always in the form, it is always in the form y is equal to uxv, or x is equal to uyv. So you remember in this way. Yep. Here x is equal to what? Y is equal to uxv and x is equal to uyv. So x is a substring of y. In first case, there are two cases now. In first case, x is a substring of y uh, when it is present with other two strings, okay? And here y is a substring of x and it is present in between other two strings. So these are our 6 important topics for this entire session, and this you have to remember for a ref for I mean before we proceed to our next sessions. Okay, guys, now there's one more important. Is this clear? This 6 points.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What is an
Yes,
alpha? I'll
ma'am.
also share. Yes, guys. I'll also share PPTs, okay, and notes also of this later on. Okay, alphabet, string, concatenation, occurrences of a string. Here, in first case, it is computing the occurrence of A. Then we have computing the occurrence of B, and finally compute. Then our next point is computing the length of a string, and similarly calculating the substring of a given expression. This is what you have to remember. Now we will see our next topic, and then I guess we will stop for this session. And in the next session, we will see regular languages and automata theory. These are just the basic parts of grammars. Yeah, what we are seeing here. Okay, now our next point is prefixes. What do you mean by a prefix? Our next 8th point is prefix. Here we can say that x is a prefix. X is a prefix of y if what? If u is equal to epsilon. Yep. Next rule is what? Next we have to compute the prefix. What do we mean by prefix? X is a prefix of y if u is equal to epsilon. It is saying that. Let us take one example here. Suppose x is equal to a, b, a, b, b. Okay, this is our example. It is given to us. And we have to check that which is the prefix. You have to compute. The question will come. Compute the prefix of the given string. Okay, question may be in this way: compute the prefix, or give the prefix of the given input. So what will you do in this case? You have to check which is the prefix in this input. Okay, and our rule is what? X is a prefix of y if u is equal to epsilon. X is a prefix of y if u is equal to epsilon. So over here, what we can do here, is this in, first you have to check. You have to check that whether it's in this form. X is equal to uyv. Yeah, this was the form of computing the substring, right? Computing the substring uyv. Now, since u is equal to epsilon, this u, right? since u is equal to epsilon, epsilon means what? Epsilon means the value is 0, na? For a string, if the value is 0 or the string is an empty string, we denote that as epsilon, right? This was
Yes,
stated.
ma'am.
This was stated in our definition itself. So the first step, you will express that in our form of a substring. X is equal to yx, because I'm having the value of x. That's why x is equal to uyv. Okay. And over here, u is, since u is epsilon, means u is an empty string. U is 0 here. U is 0. Now, since u is equal to epsilon, then we can write y as y is equal to ABA. Yeah. And V is BB. And V is BB. And therefore A is a prefix. A is a prefix of X. A is a prefix of X. Is this clear? We will continue this in next lecture, but try to understand this. A is a prefix of X. Why it is a prefix?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, we also write y is equal to AB.
Why is it? Yeah, yes, that's very good answer. See, this was just a concept, right? A is a prefix of X. So over here, you can write it as it, you can either write it as AB, you can, this is a set of strings, okay, whatever I'm writing here. AB, you can write it as ABA, you can write it as ABAB, and it can also be ABABB. This is our all the prefixes, all the values when A is a prefix of X. These are the values which you will get. Are you getting this?
Ma'am, I'm talking about this particular case.
Mm-hmm.
If y is equal to AB, then we also write the v is equal to b only, or
Acha, in this case, you are saying, okay, y is equal to ABAB. This you are saying?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And v is equal to b
I
only.
guess so. Okay. So this is pretty simple, right? Over here. Yeah. It's pretty simple over here. Over here, they are saying that for a prefix, what we have to do is X is a prefix of Y. If U is equal to epsilon, what is my U then in this case? Tell me what will be, first of all, which form it is in? It is in this form. Y is equal to UXV, right? It is in this form. So my value of U is epsilon, means it is 0. Okay. So my substring or my prefix will be what? X is equal to AB. Yeah. Yes. Tell me. Yeah. You're not audible. Okay. This topic prefix. Yeah. I think we will take more examples and I'll try to explain this completely in our next lecture because we are just running
Yes,
out of time. Yeah.
yes, ma'am. Please take this 8 rule.
Yes. Okay. I guess when do we have a lecture? I guess tomorrow. No. Okay. In our next lecture, we will see this. We will continue with prefixes. And then we will see other examples of finite automata. We have something which is called as state transition diagram. You have state transition table. You have non-deterministic finite automata and deterministic finite automata. First of all, we will see what do we mean by a finite automata and all. And one more thing I would like to revise, that in the last lecture we had seen, see, the states are represented by the circle, right? This represents your state. This you should remember. And your double circle, it represents your final state. We will see how that relates and how to compute certain expressions by using these states. And we will continue, first of all, we will continue with our prefixes and then we will carry on with the states and all. Okay, so I think we will stop for today. Let me take your attendance.